And joining us for the discussion, we're joined in studio by political analyst and author of Ethnicracy, Can Africans Think Beyond Ethnicity, Dr. Matthew Agai, South African Police Union President Mpho Nkwinika, and on the phone line we are joined by political analyst Dr. Bheki Mngomezulu, as well as Mkhuleko Hlengwa, IFP National Spokesperson. A very good evening to you all, and thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Good evening.
Let me start with you. What are your thoughts on the scourge of political killings in KwaZulu-Natal and the response time of the police force?
Yeah, it is quite unfortunate that this situation has been pending for a very long period of time. But so far, the steps taken by the police minister are quite commendable, even though they seem to be temporary steps at the moment. The reason being that there's a need to have a long-term plan that can address the problems of crime in the entire country, not just only setting up different tax listing committees. So the minister need to look into the generality of the problem, and once that is looked into, then it can now affect everyone. For example, you go to the taxi rank, MTN taxi rank in this thing, Johannesburg. I mean, there are a lot of people you meet there, and they commit crime even in the daytime. It seems nobody cares about that. You can't just target only specific places. Let's look at the generality of the entire country.
And Mr. Nkwinika, what are your thoughts then on how the police are responding?
Yeah, you see, what they are doing is unsustainable. You are moving resources from one area to another area, and when you do that, you leave a void behind. It's a very expensive exercise to have, and I think there is a need for us to have a serious introspection as policing, to say, what is it that we need to do to strengthen policing in this country? And the people that are responsible for that should not shy away from doing that.
Well, let me just go across to Honourable Hlengwa, who we have on the phone line. A very good evening to you, and thank you for joining us. As the IFP, what are your thoughts on the scourge of political killings in KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, thank you very much. The IFP is, of course, very concerned about the escalating levels of political violence in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly ahead of an election, which is a do or die. And so we are really hoping that whatever efforts are being set into motion are going to yield results which are going to curb the escalation of this violence. However, we must put on record as the IFP our profound dissatisfaction in the manner in which the police services have, in the main, handled cases involving the IFP. We had a political killing of Comrade Sibuyiselo Dlamini just in May this year. We did not see the type of energy that the police put in to other murders. The so-called 72 hours response time or turnaround time was never effected. And if you go into every single IFP killing, there is no breakthrough, not even a hint of a suspect anyway. And so it is our belief that the SAPS have been solving these cases along political lines in the main, and specifically along factional lines within the ANC. We therefore take very cold comfort as the IFP in the fact that none of the IFP-related killings have been solved, and we urge the minister to depoliticize this investigation insofar as the SAPS is concerned, and actually mete out justice for all of us. Because if they continue to conduct the investigations and apply a laissez-faire attitude towards political killings which are not ANC related, then it, for all intents and purposes, leaves us as the IFP with no other conclusion other than the fact that the state does not value the lives of IFP people or any other party for so long as they are not the ANC. So we cannot at this point in time then say that whatever efforts are in place have yielded results for so long as we have not been able to receive justice as the IFP. It's totally unacceptable, and if the minister is serious about this, we urge him to put his money where his mouth is and actually deliver justice for all.
We do have a Brigadier Jay Naik, the SAPS provincial spokesperson, on the phone line, so hopefully that he can respond to those concerns you've raised. Brigadier, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. IFP is accusing the police force of not solving cases in a fair and transparent manner, saying that ANC cases seem to have preference to other political parties' cases in the KZN.
No, I can't talk to that. I'm not aware of such instances. But from our point of view, we just want to welcome the 118 new members from other parts of the country that have joined KZN to work specifically on these political killings. They are looking at it with fresh eyes, and we've been told today in the video briefing at the Minister House that they've already arrested 6 people in connection with some of the cases in KZN. 2 of the firearms that they recovered has been linked to at least 8 cases, and we're quite confident that they are going to just go from strength to strength.
Brigadier, can you then elaborate for us some of the charges that the suspects who've been arrested are facing?
No, look, as I said, we're not part of this political team. It's a team from the outside KZN that's been appointed by the Minister and the National Commissioner of Police, and that is what the media briefing was about today. But as we indicated, we welcome these new people, 118 people into the province. It's making a big difference, and like I said, they're able to look at these cases with fresh eyes.
Brigadier, there have been some reports that police tend to take a more reactive stance to crimes as opposed to being more proactive. Could you perhaps comment on that and on the police force's efforts to actually be more proactive to reacting to crimes?
Yes, well, I think it would be an ideal opportunity if you had a media briefing today, because a lot of these cases have been proactive, where they have recovered, I think quite a few cases, probably over 6 to 8 cases, where they intercepted people that were about to commit a crime, and that's where they recovered quite a few firearms. So they were fortunate enough, the same political task in arresting people, thus preventing a lot of unnecessary deaths.
Well, we are seeing those kinds of good news stories there regarding the police force, and we do acknowledge them. Please do stay with us on the phone line as we go across to the ANC provincial spokesperson, Nomagugu Simelane Zulu. A very good evening to you, and thank you for joining us. Speak to us about your thoughts on what's happening in KwaZulu-Natal regarding these political killings.
Good evening, and thank you for having us as the African National Congress. Ma'am, we are very worried as the ANC about the state of killings of politicians in KwaZulu-Natal. And we have been calling on the national leadership to intervene or try and change their strategy, because we have been under so much pressure, because as the ANC, it seems it's leaders of the ANC that are affected more than any other party. As a result of that, members of the ANC were becoming very worried, and there was no arrest or even any sense of agency within the police. Now, with the announcement that was made today by the Minister of Police, I think we are quite hopeful that something new will come up and they will be able to actually arrest, but not just arrest, prosecute as well, because sometimes arresting alone doesn't mean that the matter has come to an end. They could just arrest someone who has not done anything wrong. The fact that we have had these killings since 2011 is very worrying, and we have not arrested anyone, or we've not had a successful prosecution. So we are quite happy with the fact that the Minister has acknowledged the fact that some of their strategies have not worked, and this tells us that they are changing strategies, and we are hoping that something good will come out of it.
And what implications do these killings actually have on the upcoming 2019 elections?
Look, the killings generally in KwaZulu-Natal are worrying because of the history of the province, particularly when it comes to violence. So any time when there are such killings, we become worried in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So at any point it is worrying. I don't think we should link it to the elections as such, because it is not something that is a build-up towards the election. For me, it's just an issue of crime that the police must deal with, and must deal with effectively. If they are unable to effectively implement their strategies, it means they need to go back to the drawing board and come up with new strategies to curb this. Because if nothing is done, at the end of the day, South Africa is going to become a banana republic where every Tom, Dick and Harry can come in and just kill without any consequences.
Well, please do stay with us on the phone line as we go across to Dr. Bheki Mngomezulu, who is a political analyst. Dr. Bheki, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Now, in terms of the interministerial task team that was assembled, its aim was to, encourage cohesion and working together of the different elements, actually, of the police force. Do you think that they actually have been able to achieve their goal, seeing that there are 6 arrests now that were reported today by the minister?
First of all, I must say that any arrest is in fact applauded on condition, of course, as this gentleman from the ANC has just indicated, on condition that the arrest will then be followed by successful prosecution. If we were able to prosecute 2 of the many that we don't know, at least the understanding is that we might be able then to use that one as a link to find out what exactly is causing this problem. Because the complexity of these killings in KwaZulu-Natal is such that you are not able to tell whether in fact it is inter-party political killings or intra-party killings, because the reality of the matter is organizations as they stand now are not united. So therefore some of the killings might in fact be happening within political parties, when most of us are expecting members of a political party to be killed by those of another party. The reality of the matter is some of them are in fact intra-party political killings. That, of course, the third element is just a thuggery that is happening out there. So putting together then different ministers to tackle this issue is something that is supposed to have happened a long time ago, and we are happy that at least some arrests have been made, but we'll be even more happier once then there's been successful prosecution of those who have been arrested.
Well, Honourable Hlengwa, do you think that there is a role that political parties should be playing in trying to fight the scourge of political killings? Honourable Hlengwa, if you are still with us, do you think that there is a role that political parties should be playing in trying to fight the scourge against these political killings?
Yes, I was indicating that all political parties must undergo an introspection to check whether internal processes insofar as deployments and so on have been followed, and that we are able to engage our comrades on decisions that we take. But the second issue, and I want to respond directly to Officer Naika, Director Naidu, to say to him, it is precisely for that reason why we have got this problem as the IFP, and will continue to lament until such time is done, because it's easy to brush aside the concerns that we have. Let me make an example. Councillor Pool was murdered in 2011. Till this day, nothing has happened. The police have failed outright. His bullet-riddled body was found in a sugarcane field after he was abducted by people masquerading to be police. What have they done? Zero. Comrade Shezi was killed in full view of cameras and the police and the public outside the courthouse. But the person who killed him walked free because the police failed outright to do their jobs. And I'm putting it into now that Spurselo Dlamini was killed in May. There has been zero that has been done. So I do not think the police have got any leg to stand on a national platform and say that anything has been done when families of people are still reeling today because they have not been served with justice. And I want to put it on record and reiterate it that the police are not investigating these matters in a fair manner. They are investigating them along political lines, at best, and at worst along factional lines. And we are not going to be able to solve these killings in KwaZulu-Natal if the police themselves have got a laissez-faire attitude towards their duties. What is saying there insofar as prosecutions is exactly correct. The absence of proper investigations leads to faulty prosecutions. That is why these criminals are walking free today, because when they get to court, the police have failed outright to do their jobs in terms of investigating, collecting evidence, writing proper statements. Now, these cases are bundling in the hands of the police, and they can change strategies until the end of time. For so long as they have been unable to capacitate the police officers, particularly those who have been entrusted the responsibility to investigate, we'll continue having this situation. So the IFP will take cold comfort because there has been zero progress in any of the investigations which are involving IFP murders, and the criminal 21 days at most must release the report of the Moriane Commission, and we are interested to know what is in there. But I do not think at this point in time the police can come and tell us here that they've changed strategy and changed strategy. What we want is results. What we want is prosecutions so that we can curb these killings. In the absence of consequences, these brazen criminals are going to continue as business as usual, killing whether it's IFP, ANC, DA, and so on. So all political parties in the main are reliant on police officers to get their job right. And if they do not get their job right, they put all of us at risk because then we'll get killed without consequences and criminals will continue doing what they're supposed to be doing. So
well, let's just give the Brigadier Naika an opportunity to actually respond to you before we run out of time, Honourable Hlengwa. Brigadier Naika, just please, in response to the statements that Honourable Hlengwa has actually made, could you just elaborate? I mean, you were talking about the cases that police have been solving and the amount of work that the police are actually doing to try and deal with the backlog of all of these cases.
Now, look, I don't want us to go around in circles, and I think all of those concerns from the political parties, I think the minister was, and police management was responding to all of those concerns when they appointed this new team. And that is why we have, as I said, 118 new people from other parts of the province that were brought in to specifically investigate these political killings. So those concerns were obviously raised at various levels. They've reached police management at national level as well as the ministry. And responding to that, there was a change of the task team and these 118 people were brought in. So I think the ministry and police management are addressing those concerns by changing the team, because they found they were not getting any results, and obviously all of the concerns from various political parties also.
Well, Mr. Kunika, just coming to you, do you think that commissions such as the Moriane Commission and other task teams that are assembled are actually effective in curbing the scourge of violence?
We don't believe that we will get good results out of this, and I'll give you reasons. Investigation of crime, it comprises of many facets, and those things need to be looked at all times when you do investigation. One, it is the issue of informers. You need to have a network, full network of informers at the place where you will be working. Now you have got a group of people who have been drawn throughout the country and thrown into an environment which they don't have a know of. And we are told that they will be working with the 8 of the officers who have been there. It's 118 plus 8, which takes you to 126 people that are supposed to be doing this investigation in KZN. They are going to start very slowly as opposed from those people who were there before. Are we going to get results now? Maybe get results later, but not now. We are not going to get anything now. We are going to allow people to settle down. And when we are doing that, the crime will be going on. And I don't pray for this, and I don't wish that this happen. But if it does, I think the South African Police Service will really have a lot to explain to South Africans, because they know what is it that they're supposed to be doing to deal with these issues in KZN.
Dr. Agai, just your closing thoughts. What do you think should be done by the police force, by government or by political parties, the different stakeholders in this matter? You see, crime evolves. You can also say crimes metamorphosizes. And because it does, there is a need to actually, for the police to actually understand that the old method that they use in handling crimes or in handling issues should not be the one that should be applied today. So they need to find new ways of actually dealing with the crime activities that we have around. But most importantly, the country should be looked into it completely. I wish there will be an embezzle by the police or what you call a committee, whatever, that will sit down and say, how can we address the issue of crime in the entire country, not just in KwaZulu-Natal, not just in Cape Town, but in the entire country? How do we address the issue of crime? Issues like the employment of police, the involvement of community, especially the community, is very, very vital. So there is a need for the police to actually sit down and have an MPs on how do we address the issue of crime in South Africa. And then they should be able to look at it step by step and apply it
and then I'm sure that it will work. Then just setting committees, tax teams, and it's soft crime, and then later it will come again. Let's have a permanent, a solution that is permanent, not just something that will look at it temporarily.
Ms. Nomagugu Simelane Zulu, what are your thoughts in closing? Just in 1 minute, please.
We do need a permanent solution, and we call on the minister to ensure that the team that he has put in actually works overtime so that we have results, and we have results yesterday. Because the people of KwaZulu-Natal are very worried about the state of the killings, because if nothing is done and no one is prosecuted, no one knows who is going to go next. And unfortunately, if there are no prosecutions, it means everyone in the province will keep on pointing at each other, and we will continue with the term that we have coined that says it's political killings, when in reality none of us know if they are political or not, except we know that it's politicians who are being killed. So we are calling on the minister to really fast track this and ensure that in the next few months some prosecutions come to be.
And lastly, Dr. Bekim Gomezuli, your closing comments in 1 minute, please.
Colleagues, for me, as long as we look up to government to solve this problem alone, we are missing the point. It should be everyone's responsibility. After all, some of those criminals live amongst us, and some of them are our relatives. So, and our political parties are also to blame for this. So as long as we don't take responsibility as individuals, government alone cannot solve this case.
Thank you very much to all of our panelists that joined us via telephone and those in studio. The conversation does continue online, so you can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @AfroWorldView. We'd like to know your thoughts and your views on this matter. It is time now for a short break, but do stay tuned for more news and updates.